turn my ringer off my phone because I don't do that sometimes, and then someone will call me in the middle of a live.
I think mine's on. I think mine's on vibrate, which should be fine, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh,
what happened? I'm so not used to barking. My heart jumped.
He will do that sometimes. Just roll with it. It's like normal that he barks.
Oh, I'm like, oh my god, I'm like intruders.
And then will you do a little tippy tap
Yes.
on your microphone for me, please?
Yes.
Perfect.
We're good. We're in business.
We're in business. All right, that camera's set up good. Give you a little more headspace.
This is so cute. I love it. Hello. Oh, you like the microphone, huh?
There we go. I can always zoom in. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so funny. All right.
This is how we're starting.
This is how we're starting. Jenna, welcome to Podcastina.
Hi, nice to be here.
It's so nice to have you.
This is very exciting. And the puppy, you guys can sort of see him.
He's a fixture.
You see his beautiful profile.
It's his show. I'm just operating it for him.
I think so too, honestly. I think he's really the star and he knows it.
He does. What are you looking forward to in life right now?
What am I looking forward to in life right now? Looking forward to summer. I know that that's cliche, but I get severe seasonal depression. So definitely looking forward to having a warm weather again. I don't know. I have a very ooh.
He will do that.
I have so many little mini projects going right now, and I don't have like big long-term goals for them. I just feel like it's some form of hyperactivity I have, where I have like a bunch of little things always going on at once. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how some of those are going to intertwine and kind of become like the main road for me, I guess I would say. Yeah.
That's so cool. I was stoked to peruse just the tiniest bit of art that you have in your house. It's so pretty. So you're like, explain what you used to do in art. Was it like curation, or what is your background with that?
So yes, but I wouldn't say that was the main focus. So when I went to college, I went for painting, drawing, and printmaking. So it was like applied fine arts. And then I double majored in art history because I fell in love with art history just from taking the electives I had to take while in college. So I myself have been an artist since I was like a little kid. I always was drawing and painting, sculpting, doing things. And then when I fell in love with art history, I decided like, okay, I'm gonna get an internship in an art museum and see how that goes. And I just adored it. I worked in the curatorial department. I worked a lot with the registrar, who's in charge of kind of taking care of and tracking the collections. So it's a lot of like the accountability and the condition reporting and things like that. So it's kind of administrative, but you really are hands-on with the art all the time. And after having that internship, I realized that if I was going to be looking at having a career in art, I'll always be a visual artist. I'll always be painting and making things. But as a 9-to-5, having some sort of applied thing where I can look at really great art in person, even things that other people maybe don't get to see, would be perfect. So at that point, what I did was I did like I guess I would call it a second internship, but with the curatorial departments, a little more hands-on, where I was doing like research work for them. So I was helping visiting scholars put together books that they were working on, and I was working with the photography department to kind of document the plates that they have in the books. I'm sorry, it's so cute.
And then his butthole is just dead center in that camera.
I love animals. This is great. Oh my god. And then, so at that point, I decided I loved the museum I was at in Florida. It was great. It was a small museum with like a really good collection. But I decided after graduation, I wanted to do a big art museum, and I wanted to, move to a different city, get out of Florida. Even though I love where I'm from in Florida, I knew I just needed a different experience for a bit. So I applied to museums all across the country, and I ended up working for one of the really big ones in Los Angeles. And the way that I got my foot in the door there was administrative work for the curatorial department.
Oh, smart.
So yeah, that's how I started there. So then I bounced around the curatorial department there for a while. But I did notice while I was there that there was academia in general, because they worked very closely with UCLA and other programs like that. And there's a bit of a pyramid scheme to college. Did you go to college?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. What'd you major in?
Okay, so I went to.
Am I allowed to interview you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I was like, am I allowed to ask questions?
No
too?
questions.
Yeah.
No.
I was like, does this have to be about me? No. Where'd you go to school and what'd you major in?
So I went to Kent State in Ohio,
Oh, nice.
which
Okay.
is best known for the school shooting.
Yes,
we
of
were the
course.
OGs
Yep.
of school shootings by the National Guard in 1970. And it was also lovingly nicknamed Can't Write, Can't Read, Kent State
So
by
funny.
like other Ohio people. It was definitely the school where people who were not the most studious in high school went, because it wasn't very hard to get in.
Okay.
And all my more like academic faced friends that I came up with, they all went to like Ohio State, which was a little more competitive and a little more expensive. And I was just kind of had a little bit more of like a rough around the edges high school
Yeah.
experience than they did, and was also like, oh, I guess I have to go to college. Wasn't quite sure. Ended up majoring in business management because it just felt like the generic, click all these boxes, I can do it.
Smart move. Yeah.
Right. And yeah, I almost, I didn't do that great for a while. So I was like, it was taking me longer. It ended up taking me 5 years. So I was like, oh, if I'm going to be here for a whole nother year, I can just do a couple more classes and then also get my degree in marketing too. So I picked that up too. So I ended up with business management and marketing.
That is a very useful degree.
Yeah.
It's a lot more useful than painting, drawing, and printmaking.
Sure, but I guess
I will say.
I bet, but also it feels like you did something relevant to your degree, whereas I kind of just had these like crappy office jobs before I quit to do stand-up, and I was like, I could have gotten those jobs without a degree. I don't know that it was like directly applicable to what I'm doing.
Yes, yeah, I do see that, because sometimes when I talk about I guess I should plug that. I have an art podcast called The Bad Art Show, where we teach comedians about art, and I notice myself constantly telling people that college is a scam, college is a ripoff. The whole point is to get you in debt, and I was about to go into that about working in museums, because there is a pyramid scheme to this. So the pyramid scheme is. Yes, you're right. I did use my degree, so it sounds hypocritical when I say that college is a scam, because I loved what I studied and I loved the field that I went into. But the thing that they get you with on this is, in order to ever make any substantial amount of money, you have to have a PhD.
Whoa.
So you can get entry-level jobs with just a bachelor's degree. You can get paid a tiny bit more if you get a master's degree. And then once you get a PhD, you're going to get pushed into a bunch of programs that don't really pay you and are kind of like higher up internships, but that's where you network, and that's where you find your way into jobs that actually do pay you money. So the other factor to this is that art museums, because they know they're getting a class of person like me who loves art and would do anything to work in this industry, they know they don't have to pay you well. So
God, that's every industry that anyone wants to work in.
Every industry, because you're so replaceable. There's other people who want that job too. And they might not even have your skill set. They might not even have the amount of information you have, but it's plentiful, the amount of people. So the key is to get you into the industry and then convince you that the only way you're ever going to make money is that you have to go get your PhD. In order to effectively get your PhD and do the research that you need, it's almost impossible to have a job while you're doing that. Not impossible, but almost impossible.
So they're in bed with the universities.
Yes.
Oh.
And a lot of the jobs that you're going to get, you're going to want to get a job that's like in your field while you're working on your PhD, because you have to be a published author. So you're writing and researching, doing all these things. Those jobs are probably not going to pay. They're going to be more like networking jobs. If they do pay, it's going to be like absolutely minimum wage. So
transitioning to comedy was easy then.
Transitioning to comedy was easy.
And it sounds so familiar.
Yes, so familiar. And I will say that the entire time I worked at an art museum, the entire time, I also had to work at a restaurant to pay my bills. I was not capable in any city that I lived in to work at any of these art museums and just simply across the board pay my bills. So that's what I would say to anyone looking to go into, like you said, any field that you love. They're going to know that there are other people who love it too, and you're replaceable, and they're not going to pay you. And that's just what it is. This is America. I don't know what else to say. And I will say the museum that I worked for had billions of dollars. They could have easily paid people enough to live in Los Angeles. Easily. And to me, I'm like, if you have a full-time job somewhere, you know, whatever that full-time job is, you should be able to pay to live in the city that you work.
You'd think.
You'd think, right? Especially from an organization that has that much money. So that was my experience in the art museum world. And it wasn't the catalyst to why I quit and started comedy, but it definitely didn't hold me in that world when it came to the decision of whether or not I wanted to keep that job, because it was like this thing that I'd worked for years and years wasn't even sustainable. So it was very easy for me to leave and switch into being a nightclub clown.
Where you're also replaceable.
Yes, I mean, it's so replaceable.
Yeah.
And it's so not payable.
Not payable. I'm always having hashing the conversation. Monty, the way that, like, as a headliner, you can make money, and that's real. But feature pay has been the same since like the 80s, and it just won't go up. And the club owners know that they don't have to adjust it.
Yeah. Because
they're like, oh, nobody cares about the feature. Nobody's here for the feature, so you're
replaceable. Yeah. Of course. And you know, the not making money in comedy. I was talking to another comic about this the other day, because I really do think that the old way
Monty, you want to come up here? I know there's people in the hallway. Okay.
He's guarding us. He's protecting us.
Come here, my love. Come here, please. There we go. Good boy.
I love that he's protecting us, though. This is good for you. I feel very safe around you.
He's like, I was bred to bark for hundreds of years, and now this is what I do.
And now you have me in an apartment where the noises are echoing around me. No, I think that the old way, because you know they used to say, like, you start comedy in New York. This is like, I'm talking 80s, maybe even 70s too. Start comedy in New York, then you move to then you get on a Tonight Show, something like that, and then you move to LA and you get a sitcom. That was the old way of doing it. And then the new way of doing it is like newer way, like the 90s, 2000s way, is you become like a road dog. You start featuring for people, you work your way up, and then you become a headliner, you put in your time, right? And I really do feel that even though some of those older comics don't respect the comics that have blown up online and didn't put in the hours, I do think that that is the new path. If you want to make a living in comedy, you got to make internet money. It just is what it is. And I'm not saying don't, be a feature or go on the road or anything like that. I just no longer think that that is the blueprint of how people are going to find success in this. I think finding success in it is going to be what makes you happiest and what can pay your bills. Because if you can't pay your bills, you're not going to be happy. You're going to always be bitter. You'll be mad at what everyone else is getting around you, And so even if that's the way people have been doing it for 20 years, it's like, I'm not going to name names, but there's some comics that have just blown up on TikTok and on Instagram. And now they're selling out theaters and they never paid the dues.
Yeah.
And people can be as mad about that as they want, but they're selling tickets. That's what the job is. The job is to sell tickets,
It changed, and it's one of those, like, do it or get left behind. So even to the road dog part of the conversation, you can't do that either. You can't tour now without social media. Clubs are not going to book you.
Yeah, they're going to be like, who are you? I've never even heard of you. Why would I take the chance on you, And the other thing that I've noticed is, and this is just from friends who do, like, headlining gigs, is sometimes the internet numbers, the metrics, don't line up with ticket sales. So it's like you really have to get an audience that is so dedicated to you, and also across the board, like in every state, that you're going to be able to sell tickets, not just in your little region or whatever it is, So Yeah, I don't know. I think that's one thing that Kill Tony is doing really good for comics, is that it gives them like an international platform to sell tickets. Like you'll have fans in every state, you know, like those friends of mine who are headliners from that, they have fans in every state.
Because Kill Tony watchers are comedy fans. Those are like some of the best followers you can get, because those are people that want to go to comedy shows, that want to listen to comedy podcasts, or like watch comedy stuff on YouTube. Like they're not just someone that finds you and thinks your like little memes and sketches are funny.
Yes.
They're like, no, we love stand-up. We're stand-up fans.
But there is a negative side to that too. There is that, because they're true comedy fans, but there's also they're comedy critics.
Yes.
And comedy critics, just like music critics, can turn on you when you get to a certain point. Like you ever hear people be like, oh, I liked their early album, but then they went mainstream? That's going to happen to people. And I know that it has happened to some people, but it will happen more. And it's just like the nature of the beast. When anyone's a critic of something that they love, which like I'm an example of that. I'm a hardcore critic of art because I love art. So I'm very picky about what I like and I don't like, you know? And so I do get that too, where it's like you want to make sure that, I don't know, if you get famous for one thing, that your fans will still love you if you start trying new things, right? Like, no, I'm the same person. So yeah, I find that interesting. But I do think that the world is changing a little bit in that sense. And I also think like social media opened up. I mean, I know we've had it for a long time at this point. Obviously, Facebook has been around for so long, but it opened up the idea of like what's acceptable, because I know some clubs went hard in the left direction, the right direction. I'm using those like, I guess, as political terms, but I kind of mean like the like what you can and can't say, you know. And so the internet opened up to like you could get exposure even if a certain club or scene wasn't fucking with you, you know, because maybe they don't like that you're too left leaning, or you know, like here in Texas, if you joke about abortion, people get weird sometimes, you know, like things like that. But it's like, well, with the internet, it's, you know, you'll find your people, your little tribe. They'll love you anyways.
It's so fun to do abortion jokes here. I have a few, and I notice how different the reactions are here, and I'm so like, funny. I love it. I'm doing it. I don't care.
That's so funny. I love it. I don't have any abortion jokes, but I mean, I lived in LA for long enough and did comedy there that I was like very used to hearing them. I would say almost if the shows had a decent amount of females on it, I would hear, you know, at least one take on it, because it's such a thing that affects us all the time and only us, that it's like, how do you not have something to say about it, you know? And then you come to Texas and it's like, yeah, you don't hear those jokes so much anymore, because I think people try them and they go, well, that didn't work the way I thought it would, and I guess I'll just drop it, you know?
It just has to be that much it'll tell you the quality of your abortion joke, because if it works here, then you know it really works.
Yes, that's a great point. Yeah.
I almost started to write another one because I thought I was gonna have to get one right before I moved here. I had a pregnancy scare literally days before moving to Texas.
Oh God, what a nightmare.
Like, I was like, if I have to pencil this in now when I have like 72 hours of reproductive rights left, like the clock it was like driving on E. You ever drive when it's like at 0?
Yeah. And you're like, I can make it.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, at least I'll have new abortion jokes.
Brand new. Oh no. Yeah, that's a weird one. That is a weird one about living in Texas, because like, no matter where you stand on, I mean, I guess it's men probably don't get it the way women do.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that's all I'll say about that. Because like it's, I don't know. It's the same people who are like, I guess, anti-abortion, which is I understand their platform, but they're the same people who think it's fine to start wars.
Right.
And I'm like, but that one doesn't check out.
Yeah. Pro-death penalty. Got it.
Yeah. Well, but it's weird because wars, you know, oftentimes children get caught up and killed in those.
Yeah.
And they're already born. So, yeah, it's just kind of like a weird one, you know? Like on a personal note, I probably would never get an abortion myself, but I'm also very, very pro-choice from a legal perspective.
Yeah.
Like I can't fathom why I should have anything to say with what you do,
Mm-hmm.
and why a government person who doesn't know either of us should have anything to say with what you do.
Yeah. Well, that's
You know?
the sensible take.
Yeah, because I just can't, my brain wouldn't be able to process that, because it seems like that would be something that could be abused by the government very easily,
Oh yeah.
you know? And that one has never made sense to me, really. 'Cause I guess I just think about it as an outsider and objectively. And most people don't think of it objectively or as an outsider. They have some sort of a personal, like, tie to their belief, you know, in either direction. And I'm just like, well, I'm kind of out of the loop on this, but I don't know, that's my take. Yeah, I hope my feet aren't on camera. Oh, I was about to say, I'm gonna get you some new fans.
You guys have to pay more if you want that. I'm gonna crop it.
Perfect. Because I like kicked out as I said that, and I was like,
oh. You saw, you're like, oh, you got some toes coming in. So I would love to get, and obviously art is probably the most subjective thing in the world. However,
yeah,
or objective. I always get
subjective.
Yes, the most subjective thing. Is there any kind that you're like, well, this is, I don't understand this at all. I don't get it. Like,
there's
whether
so
it's
many
abstract or like light installations or weird. I want to hear your like ranking on what's good art and what's poo-poo.
Okay, this is great. This is great because my opinion is so irrelevant because, like you said, it's subjective. So what I like or doesn't like doesn't dictate whether it's good or bad, because someone else might feel the exact opposite as me. But I do have super strong opinions about what is good and what isn't good. So strong. Like, for example, and people are not going to be happy with this one. This is probably my most controversial take. I'm not huge on surrealism. Don't love surrealism. There's some of them that are okay, but to me, I always like to do like the comedy comparison of it.
Yeah.
And to me, it's kind of like shock value comedy.
Okay.
Like when you see someone doing shock comedy is the same way that I feel when I see Salvador Dali. I'm like, oh, it's edgy and it's melting and there's, it's just like, to me, it's so over the top that it then becomes boring. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes.
It's maybe trying too hard is the way I would put it.
Mm-hmm.
And I do understand the psychological time frame in which those things were created. Is it was like early psychoanalysis. It was like Freud was big. Like they were looking at very like what's, Jungian psychology, what's going on in your mind. And these time periods are kind of a little bit different, but they're around the same time period of what these artists were reading, therefore taking in and then putting back into their art. And again, there are some surreal artists that I like whose names I'm not even thinking of right now, but I have seen works where I'm like, that one I do really like. But for the most part, most of the big name surrealist artists, I'm like, miss me with that. I don't need it at all, I would rather look at like some foo-foo, Rococo French thing that also is not really my style, but to me that's actually more interesting than a lot of the surrealist works. With saying that, I do still like modern art. There are things that I like about it. A lot of modern art that people who are more like traditionalist critics of art, where they say like, oh, we're losing the beauty in art. And, after, especially in the postmodern era, where things become very abstract and you're starting to get things that are like non-representational, like you just have, think of like Rothko, just the blocks of like color.
Yeah, I've always had questions about that.
So that's usually around that time frame, which is kind of like mid-century time frame. People start to get a little bit like, my 4-year-old can do this, and like, I don't really get how this is talented in art. And I understand that take on that type of art. I very much do, because we did lose the skill of rendering an image, like the tricking of the eye, I guess you would say, of like, wow, I can't believe that this was painted with this detail. We did lose that during that period. But there were other things going on in society at that time that were making those artists move in that direction, and I also find that fascinating. Now, whether it be the Red Scare situation of that a lot of these artists were like communist, and they felt that being representational would put them on a list from the CIA, and some of them even relocated to other countries because of
I never
that.
thought of that. That's so cool.
Yeah, so some of them went non-representational because some of them thought of it simply in studies of color and form and thinking of it on just a really simple level. But there were other artists who did things that were more like that, where they were making like coded art. And then that gets into the Jackson Pollock thing, which he was funded by the CIA. So he's what we call, this is a thing that like is known, but not many people talk about. So he's what you would call like a construct, like a CIA construct. So the reason why they pushed his art forward, which again, non-representational, it's just splashes of paint, right? They pushed his art forward because it was the opposite of what the Russians and the communists were making. Because in Cuba and Russia at the time, they were making art.
Oh no, I knew he was gonna do that. Oh,
Did it
sorry. It spilled.
Oh no!
Oh no!
On the wrong
I heard it drop. I heard it drop.
This is the fun of having animals. I'm just gonna keep talking through this.
I was just gonna pick it up too.
This is the fun of having animals because I have a cat and a dog, and they do shit like this all the time. Yeah, drink it, buddy boy. He's getting some matcha.
Oh my goodness. Oh. I had like a gut feeling that was gonna happen.
Is he actually drinking it? That's so funny.
Monty!
He's gonna be caffeined out. I love that for him. Get weird, boy.
Oh my god. I'm sure it'll come up. It's okay. I'll just put this under here so it doesn't.
Do you want sparkling water?
That's okay.
I actually don't think it'll stain because of the
I don't
color.
think so either. Yeah. It's not so bad.
Because of the color of the rug, I think it'll be fine.
Monty, stop drinking it.
He's helping.
He's like, what? It was for me. I wanted some and you wouldn't give me any. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I'm gonna hold that the rest of the
Yeah. Lesson learned on that one.
Lesson learned. Oh my gosh. Okay. So sorry.
That's okay. I know exactly what I was talking about.
Good.
Surprisingly, usually I'm like CIA. Yeah. Well, the reason why we in America funded these artists that people now look back on and they go, well, that's not talented, and like my 4-year-old could do that, and where's the skill? And I don't even think that's good. Well, we funded that because the Cubans and the Russians, and really all communist countries, they were funding artists who were doing representational worker art, which was actually quite skillful, but it was to push forward the idea of like the worker is part of the community, is part of the structure of this communist force that we're moving towards, and do your part and all those sort of things. So propaganda. But what's funny about that is if you look at it from just like an objective eye, you're like, oh, well, the Russians and the Cubans' art was technically better, right? On a technical skill, those are better paintings. They're more interesting to look at. They're, the artist is much more skilled, but it was propaganda for the state. But so was ours. But in the opposite way, where they were going, but look at all the freedom our artists have, where they don't have to make propaganda for the state. They can make whatever they want, and they can break all the rules, and this is America and freedom and all those things. So it's like, once you look at it like that, you start to see a totally different picture of that type of art that people are very critical of, because it was an expression of freedom, that you could break all the rules and just do lines and splashes, and at the same time, the artists who did stick by traditional art that whole time were scratching their head like, wait, but I'm a really good painter and no one's buying my work. And they're buying this splatter bullshit for all this money. So I'm sure it was very frustrating to be an artist at that time if you weren't in that category. My personal favorite genres, do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite artist, or maybe like just, you don't have to know all the terms or anything, but maybe just like a style or like a type that you like,
Yeah, I love whenever something is extremely intricate, where you can just stare at one piece of art forever and you just see more and more. Like, even those photo collages where it's like one little photo, like 1,000 little photos make up one bigger photo.
Yeah.
Stuff like that really blows my mind, because that's the type of thing that I'm like, I could never.
Yeah. So you like the intricacy and the, like, more tedious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really blown away. There was this temple in Southern California that I drove out to a couple times that just had little teeny tiny statues made up like the whole building. I wish I knew what it was called, but stuff like
Oh,
that
that's
where
cool.
it's just like a ton of detail. I'm like blown away by all the cathedrals you see, like the one in
Yes.
Milan I got to go see, or just like anything that is really complex and you could tell takes a long time to make. That's the stuff where I'm like, oh wow,
Yes.
human innovation and patience.
That's a very good point. And also like dedication to the craft and dedication to the project overall, that especially like if you go to Europe and you look at the cathedrals that have been around for hundreds, some of them like 1,000 years. But the fact that some of them, took like 100 years to make. Like it was like they were looking that far in the future that they're, some of them took more than 100 years. I think the new basilica in Spain is going to be, I'm trying to think of the one in Barcelona, but I don't even think it's finished yet. It took so long. But I do very much value works like that. And I'm not religious in any way, but I love a good cathedral. Like I will go out of my way to see a good cathedral. I'm like, it is worth it, My favorite time period in art is probably Art Nouveau, which is going to be like the 1870s to like 1900. And it's a French style. So it's like biomorphic forms. And there were a lot of so it kind of overlapped a little bit with the arts and crafts movement, and where there was a pushback towards craftsmanship is what I'll say about that. So the Art Nouveau movement was I wish I could pull up images to show you, but we'll look up afterwards. But yeah, I just feel like it was kind of the pinnacle of the mix of the new industrial forms of art making with still the very technical skills of what we're talking about, of like really putting in the work of art. So it was that perfect mash before things started to get super simplified. And it also, to me, was kind of the pinnacle of design. Like it was a time period when they were thinking about design in everything, which we've completely lost. All of our buildings are just these sad shipping container square now with glass, and it's just like we've completely lost all of that.
It's what happened to Cracker Barrel.
It's what happened to Cracker Barrel. It really is.
Everything just gets venture capitaled. Where if something happens to that Red Lobster, they can just take the sign down and they can make it a Cracker Barrel, and very little has to change.
Very little has to change.
That's why I love a kitschy restaurant.
Yeah, me too. It's really the simplifying down of how can we do the least to just make it,
the most generic.
Yeah. And I think that, to me, Art Nouveau was the last time that they really, every single thing was made with intention and purpose. And really that period of art in France, and then it kind of spread out from there. So it's called La Belle Époque, which is the beautiful era, meaning like right when industrialization was taking off and things got really, really good. And then World War I changed everything. And all those things stopped. All production went towards military stuff, and then it never stopped. That was it. So it's the time in between the Franco-Prussian War and World War I is, to me, the best time of art.
And then it never came.
It never came back.
You saying it never came back is so depressing.
Because it's now we went into war as an industry, industrialization as an industry, making everything that used to be mom and pop into industry and corporate. Is that World War I was the beginning of that. And then it never changed. So everything that I really love is kind of right at that time period around 1900. That's why I love old houses and stuff like that. And so that's my favorite.
I feel like I just learned so much. I'm like, I feel the wheels in my head processing it.
For anyone listening to this, if I got any dates wrong or anything wrong, you go ahead and correct me in the comments, because I do make mistakes. I do make mistakes. There's always someone who's like, well, actually, it's this.
Do you have like a defined, what would you say are like the best museums in the world?
Well, I'm going to assume that the best museums in the world I probably haven't been to yet. Because I haven't been to a lot of countries that have a lot of the really big, great museums. I've been to a lot of the museums around the United States. I have been to museums in other countries, but I don't think I've been to probably the greatest ones, except I will say the Met has a special place in my heart. The Metropolitan is definitely my favorite museum I've ever been to on American soil. Just because they've got something for like everyone. Like there's every different category of art, and the thing I love about the Met is you're in New York City, you go into the Met, and it takes you out of New York City for a couple of hours. You're in all these other places, and then you get to come back out and you're back in New York City. And you know, the museum I worked at in college, which was in Florida, I loved that museum, and the collection was really impressive, but the museum was small. So it was like, you know, when I say that you get to travel to all these different places, like in there, you would see a work of art that took you to Papua New Guinea, or a work of art that took you to, you know, Argentina. But then the next piece of art, it would be from somewhere else. So it's like, it was a beautiful collection, but it wasn't encompassing the way the Met is. Like the Met, you'll go into whole areas and it's like, oh no, you're in the Renaissance. Mm-hmm. You know, like you're in it, you're completely surrounded by it. You're in, you know, Egypt, wherever. So yeah, that one's my favorite that I've been to in the US, I would say. But again, I haven't been to like, I think the big ones, there's something great about the big ones just because of how much they can collect all in one
with
place.
The Louvre.
Yes, and I've never gotten to go there. So that's what I'm saying. I've never been there. You know, there's some in Amsterdam. There's a number of them across Europe that I've never been to the big ones in London. I would love to go to those, the National Gallery and the Tate, but I haven't traveled as much as I would like to. And usually when I travel, it's like vacation beach stuff, which isn't always the best museum. I'm like looking where I can go that's warm and tropical, and then I'm like, oh, there's a little museum, I'll check it out. But yeah, so.
If I want to be more pretentious in the year 2026, what art fact can I pull out that someone's going to be like, oh damn, she's smart?
Oh, if you want to be more pretentious. See, this one I would say, I can tell you, but it's not my category, is the most pretentious thing to me that people can know about art is current blue chip artist, meaning the current living artists who are selling at the highest amount. If you know who they are, like who the up and coming artists are in all of the scenes that are now getting to the point to where their art's going to be like $1 million, you know? That is the most pretentious. And I know there's quite a few people who know those things, and I don't. Like, I know some of the big name artists that are up and coming, but not a lot. And the reason why is because I feel like it's sort of astroturfed. Like, who becomes famous in art is not necessarily based on merit.
Yeah.
You know, but you could say that for any art form.
Yeah.
You could say that for comedy, right? That's why it's so comparable. Like, who becomes famous is not necessarily who is the best at it. Now, on a long enough timeline, if someone is the best at it, they probably will become famous.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like up and coming people, it's not an exact analogy, you know? Like, you can't be like, oh, this, you know, how many people do you know that are really, really funny that aren't famous yet?
So many.
So many. So it's the same thing in the art world. The people who you would be like, oh, they're really, really talented, a lot of them aren't famous yet. And then you see some other people getting famous and you're like, really? Like, why? Like, it doesn't do anything for me, you know? And it's because art at the end of the day is money laundering.
Did he just throw up the matcha?
I think he sneezed. He's like sneezed throwing up in the corner over here. Turns out dogs don't like matcha as much as they think they do. He's sitting so cute right now.
I will have edited it out, but now I'll put it back in that my dog spilled my matcha and then licked it up, and now he's on the other side of the room barfing up a matcha latte like the princess queen that he is.
I love it. He's sitting really funny while he does it. That's so cute.
Is that gross? Do you regret spilling the matcha on the rug and then licking it up?
He says, I regret nothing. Nothing at all, mother.
It's the banana tape to the wall. Like,
he's a
virality
Kalman is that artist's name. Virality is huge. You know, you remember NFTs were a thing for a minute.
I knew that was so motherfucking stupid the second that it came out, and I was like, only fools are gonna spend their money on this.
Anyone with 2 brain cells knew it was stupid.
Yeah.
But I am happy that it happened because it kind of exposed people to what a scam art is. And the reason why art is such a scam And it's part of the reason why I started my podcast on art, I would say, is this underlying factor of art is created by these deeply personal things, your life experiences, your need to create. That's why artists create art, right? But then it becomes essentially a form of money, or a token, if you will, NFT, that's what it stands for rich people, for, trust fund kids, hedge fund people, corporations. A lot of corporations own corporate art collections, and so then it becomes just another form of money. You have stocks and bonds, you have actual paper money, you have art. Art is one of the best ways to hold your money because art holds value better than anything, even like property. So I always found that an interesting thing, that it's like the people who create the art are these interesting, complex individuals, but they're all trying to get the attention of the least interesting, most piece of shit group of people in the entire world. That's who you're having to appease. Yeah. And so when you hear people do what they call art speak, which is, they teach you this in grad school, that's a lot of what grad school is if you're going for fine arts, is they teach you how to network and how to market yourself. And the way to market yourself is to sell out. And by that I mean stop creating like truly great art for yourself and create art for this market. So what does that mean? You need to be a victim of some sort. You have to have an interesting story. I went to school right during the time when it was like the pinnacle of, I've used that word 4 times and I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's a good word.
I should come up with a different word for that. I went to school during the height of make your art about what's wrong with you. How are you oppressed? Are you a woman? Well, then there's misogyny. Are you black? Well, then there's racism. Are you Asian? Also racism. So it was like an ongoing thing. Are you socioeconomically poor? What is it? That was like, everyone was like, put that into your art because that's the thing that's going to make it interesting. I'm not saying that doesn't make it interesting, but I think it does take away a little bit of like the autonomy of why you're creating art. I'm not creating, whether it's my comedy or my painting, I'm not creating it so that people go, oh my God, this poor girl, look at what she's been through. But my art is obviously informed by what I've been through, So I always remember thinking that when I was in college, like every professor made it seem like the most interesting thing about you is like how oppressed you are.
Oh my God, it's like America's Got Talent. They're like, tell us you have a dead parent.
What's your story?
Yeah, what's your background?
Yeah, what's your story? What's your sad thing where we can feel like you're an underdog? Yeah, you have to be this thing for them. And I'm like, there's a movement now, which I've done, I think I've done at least one episode on this. I don't know if it's come out yet, but about the idea of posthumously canceling artists. Like people will mention, who was that comic that had this whole bit about what a piece of shit Picasso was? It's a really bad comic. I can't remember. She sucks. I can't remember her name. It's a very like woke comic who's not really funny, but they're more like just talking and telling a story into a microphone. And she had this whole bit about like how bad Pablo Picasso was. And yeah, he sucked. That's why his art was good. It is. He's a piece of shit person. And guess what? Piece of shit people tend to make really good art. And you could be like, yeah, like how oppressed are you? But he wasn't really oppressed in any way. Mm-hmm. So why is his art so good compared to his contemporaries around him? And a lot of people don't like his art, but I'm just saying that he is relatively considered to be a very good artist.
Household name.
Household name. And the reason why is not because he was oppressed. The reason why is he had something to express. Now, whether or not you like him as a person, that's just the fact of what it is. And you could say that about any type of artist. Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Like, how many comics do we know that got canceled during Me Too? It's like that doesn't make them not a good comic.
I know.
Like, are they not a great person?
Is Louis not amazing?
And first off, I've met Louis, and he is fucking amazing. He's so cool. But it's like, that is really what it is. People are complex. Like, some people are victims. Other people are perpetrators. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, almost always, people are both.
And sometimes Harvey Weinstein makes a good movie.
Fuck ton of them, dude. Movies now suck. Can we talk about movies now?
Movies are horror. Movies have been bad since I graduated high school, probably.
They got terrible.
Yeah.
I can't help but notice Kurt and I are always like looking back at movies from like when I was graduating high school and before, basically, because like most things that have come out since then are just trash.
Mhm.
Like if they're supposed to be funny, they're not. You know, if they're supposed to be deep, they're not. They're just like cookie cutter. Again, how do we find the oppression? Or if they're supposed to be funny, they're dancing around offending people. It's like, can we not just express ourselves ever, even if it pisses someone off or, you know, doesn't make someone happy enough that we didn't take it far enough? I don't know. It's weird, man. It's a weird time to be in any of the arts.
It is, and I can't think of, I've never been like a big movie person, and maybe that's because I feel like I'm not as drawn to the really sad or really kind of forced meaning type movies.
Yeah.
Where like I'll watch them, like I'll sit down and flip through whatever the Oscar nominated ones are just to see what people are saying are good movies. And it's not to say I haven't enjoyed some of them or been moved by some of them, but definitely as far as comedy, like I can't tell you the last time I enjoyed or even cared or wanted to see something in a theater. Even I notoriously have bad taste in movies. Like I only go to the theater to see Fast and Furious. That's
so
my
funny.
jam, on opening day.
That's very funny. Yeah.
Yeah, and other than that, I'm like, what even is there to see that I could like? I just don't even know the last time I laughed at like a comedy that wasn't a special or something that you're not supposed to laugh at.
Yeah, where they're saying something slightly inappropriate, which is the whole thing. You dance around being inappropriate to get the biggest laugh, you know, because you want like an instinctual laugh, not like a performative laugh. But, you know, I put on Arrested Development, which I think came out when I was in high school, or maybe probably when I was in high school. And I put on like season 1 the other day just while I was eating food. I forgot how many jokes in it you could not do today. Like a network literally would not put you on if you were doing those jokes. And I forgot about it. And I'm like, oh yeah, because we used to have freedom in saying these things, because it's like, sure, they aren't perfectly politically correct, but the point was that these people all suck. And you know, what's the other one? Always Sunny in Philadelphia used to be like that. And now it's not. If you watch it now, it's kind of not anymore. And it's like, what happened over the last 10 years? That they used to be able to joke about these things, and now all of a sudden it's like you can't even say them, you know? And I'm not for like whatever being mean to people or anything like that, but it's like, yeah, I think that's why comedy is not TV comedy is just kind of like weak now.
Yeah.
You know, it just, like you said, I haven't seen a good comedy movie. I don't even want to say which one was the last good one because I can't remember. It's been so long.
Either.
It's been so long. And it's sad because I do like watching movies, and yeah, I just feel like they took something away from us.
That's why I just watch reality TV now, because to me, nothing is funnier than just people's obscene behavior with a camera and a producer who's fanning the flames in the background.
This is very true. This is very, very true. The most controversial fun we can have is watching reality TV now. And most of it's just that is actually laughing at people. More so than what written comedy is. Like, I am actually laughing and making fun of these people with how stupid they are. Which is meaner.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, we're just psychologically torturing these contestants who just want to find love. I don't know why they think they can do it through Netflix. It's never worked. But I'll sit here and laugh at it and, you know, get on threads and be like, oh, this guy's stupid beard. You think you're going to be loved with your stupid beard?
Yeah, it's the only thing you can do. Yeah, oh God, did you watch the document? Did you ever watch America's Next Top Model?
Yes, and I saw the documentary.
You did see the documentary. Okay, so I loved that show growing up.
Me too.
And so Kurt's obviously older than me, and he was watching the documentary with me. And I looked over at him at a certain point and I go, oh my God, I fucking love this show. It's so great. It was the greatest show that ever was like reality TV show that ever existed. And then I was like, as long as you don't think about what they did to those women. As long as you don't think about that, this was the greatest show ever. And then afterwards I go, God, I just loved it so much I would watch it every day. Definitely gave me body dysphoria. Definitely they were calling a bunch of girls way skinnier than me fat in front of my eyes when I was a teenager. But, you know, it is like, as much as that show had all these bad things about it, I loved it. I still do. I still love that show, even though in hindsight, I look back and I'm like, yeah, that was bad. They did those things, but like, I'm glad. I'm glad they did that. I don't know. Does that mean to say?
No, it was a different time. It was so much. The thing that makes that documentary so mind-blowing
Yeah.
is that you watch it and you go, okay, well, none of this struck me as problematic back then.
Not at all.
It wouldn't have been happening because it would have had the same kind of regulation barriers to get through as stuff does now. Like, back then it just was a totally different time, so you have to look at it through that lens of, okay, it was perfectly fine to be doing this on TV. Oh, your mom had gun violence in her life and now you have to do a photo shoot about gun violence? Like, that's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
But back then nobody said it. You know, how many filters did that pass through and still made it on TV?
A full legal team.
Yeah.
A full legal team. Multiple lawyers had a look at that and went, yeah, sure.
Camera people, editors.
Sure. Go for it. Why not?
The ads were fine. Like, Tide was like, yeah, play our commercial.
Yeah, great. But this is what I'm saying though, because like you have to take the good with the bad, because I'm happy that I grew up during those times.
Me too.
I would not have wanted to grown up now the way that I see kids who like, there is something soft and fragile about them that they can't handle anything. And everything is a microaggression, everything is a trigger. And like, I'm not saying that we should go back to like, you know, all the terrible things that have existed for millennia in human time, but I am saying like, I think maybe there was a sweet spot and we might have passed it.
Yeah.
And I think it might be, what's the word? Accelerationist is maybe what happened. That's not the right context in which I use that word, but there was a point, but we were accelerating so quickly towards this end goal of making everything politically correct for everyone that we spun right by the sweet spot and went straight into like everything is a problem very quickly. And I kind of remember when that time frame was, or at least recognizing that we had passed it right when we did, where I was like, oh, things were better a couple of years ago when everyone wasn't upset. When you could say certain things and it would immediately offend people, you know? Like, there was a sweet time. And I know people aren't going to want to hear that. So you're like, it's better for the oppressed people now. Is it? Because they're all on fucking school shooter drugs. So I don't know that it is better for them, honestly.
I don't think so. And every teenager is just a tiny little virtue signaler. And it's like, these aren't real. It pushes this mentality that like it's not only okay but desirable to be a victim of something.
Yes.
And I'm such like a mindset person that I'm like, that's not an okay way to go through life, to like wake up and look for something that's going to hurt your feelings. Are things going to happen that are hurtful and harmful? Absolutely. And they should be addressed and people should advocate for themselves.
And you should know to stand up for yourself,
yes,
of course.
1,000%. But to actually actively go out each day and look for a thing that it's like, this isn't really a problem. Like, oh, some people have real problems and this ain't it. And like, I don't know, you know, we just recently met, so you don't know that much about my background, but like, I'm from Ukraine. There's bigger issues to me than someone like, yeah, nobody should be grabbing my ass without consent. Has it happened to me? Yeah. Am I going to turn my whole personality into being about that? No, absolutely not, because I'm so lucky that I'm not in Ukraine. And I kind of look through things with that point of view a lot, where like, you have to have a mentality. It's going to be so much more helpful for you to be like, hey, I'm fucking strong. I've been through this, that, and the other. It's not going to define me. And I'm not going to go like on a tirade for the rest of my life about it either.
Well, because at a certain point, you're not helping yourself, you're hurting yourself. I do agree when something, I'm a very dominant woman, so like, it is hard for me because I will always stand up for myself, even sometimes when I don't need to. But I do see how like some people can't do that, and like I want them to also feel safe. But at the same time, like you said, to wake up and look for something that's hurting you is bad for you. It's not just bad for society, it's bad for you. You know, there's a statistic that came out, and I don't remember the exact percentage, but I think it was something around like 40% of college students identify as disabled.
What? Whoa.
Because they get better housing, they get grants, they get all these, they get better treatment. No one can say anything to you if you're disabled. Well, what does disabled mean? Well, maybe it means you have a learning disability. Yeah. You know, like
who among us doesn't have some? Not that there aren't cases where people absolutely need additional infrastructure in place to help them and
Of
support.
course.
But like, it's not 40%. Even if that's not the right number, it's just like unrealistic for it to even be above like a third of people. Like, no way.
There's no way. And I am glad. Sometimes, you know, when I was younger, I hated that my parents were a little bit older than everyone else's parents because I was like, they're so old fashioned. Because they were. There were like times where we didn't have a TV in our house. We definitely didn't grow up with video games. Like, we had to buy those for ourselves when we got older. So there were things that they were very old fashioned about. But now, in hindsight, I'm very glad that I had older parents. Because all the things that younger parents would have been suckered into, they weren't. Like, I have ADHD, whatever. So does my mom. But if they would have tried to put me on drugs, my dad would have been like, no way. Absolutely not. Like, he would have never allowed it. I remember one time in my 20s calling him and being like, I think I'm depressed. And he laughed at me. He goes, Jenna, everyone's depressed. What is your problem? He's like, why don't you just smile until it's real? And I'm like, that is such a boomer dad take on it.
Sure is.
But then if you look into the science behind it, he's right.
Yeah.
If you pretend that things are good, you can actually trick yourself into being happier. And that's actually more, it has a higher success rate than going on antidepressants.
It doesn't, it's cognitive bias.
Of course.
Again, you're like, let me look for the things that are going to make me happy, or
Of
let me look for
course.
the things that are going to make me a victim.
Of course. And so I'm now, in hindsight, I'm very happy I had older parents. I'm very happy I had old-fashioned parents that weren't going to let me do any of those things, you know, because I was an artist my whole life. I was in that field of people who, like, I'm older than, like, when they started transitioning all the kids, you know, but had I been, I don't know, 5 or 6 years younger, I would have been in, because when I was in college, I went to college for a long time because I was a fuck up, and I had college students around me that were like transitioning and had these different disabilities and all those sort of things, and like, I'm friends with many of them, and not that I think anything's wrong with that, but I do think that some of them were pushed in that direction, you know, and so now I look at that like, oh, thank God that I was before the time where it was like, you know, cut your tits off and do these different things and make sure you're more oppressed than the person next to you because you want to have good art and all that stuff. Like, I kind of slid in right at the right moment to see it and not be completely overwhelmed by it. You know, but even when I look back at the art that I was making in college, it was all because the pressures around me were that. They were like, you're a woman, so that means terrible things have happened to you. And like, my mom and I talked about that because it was during the whole Me Too thing. And my mom was like, yeah, I mean, most women have had something happen to them.
At 90 probably plus %.
Yeah, she goes, when was the last time you met a woman who hasn't had something they could have like a Me Too thing about? And it's like, I'm not saying that that's good or that that's right, but that is the reality of being a biological female, and you know it. The whole time you're growing up, you're acutely aware of it. It's almost like we're built to be in tune with that, that people are going to try to do things to you and you have to protect yourself.
We scientifically have better peripheral vision, and the reason that men and women drive different, I actually just learned this.
This is
Is
interesting.
because women are constantly using our periphery because we're used to scanning like a dark garage or a parking lot or whatever. Our periphery's always going, whereas men tend to like look straight ahead and their gaze doesn't move around as much as ours does.
This is fascinating, but it makes perfect sense, right? Because you know, like you just said, when I walk through a parking garage,
You're scanning for danger all the time.
it is a different experience than when Kurt walks through a parking garage. Nothing is bothering that man. Like, he's just cruising along and I'm fighting for my life. Like, it's such a different experience. So yeah, I don't know, the whole thing's weird. Let's go back to 2008. What year did you graduate high school?
2007.
2007. Okay, perfect. Yeah, let's go back to those years when things were good. When you would log into your friend's Facebook and write something terrible and then type it and hit send as if they posted it. Do you remember? You remember the good times? You write something slightly offensive and you go, ha ha ha. Now everyone's gonna think you said this.
Those were the times when I would get groped at Warped Tour, and I would be like, it's part of the experience. I got groped during the Offspring. I wanted to crowd surf, so that's
Yep.
me.
I made the decision to come here and get drunk, so. Yeah, I mean, I do think about that too, of like, nowadays you're being tracked everywhere, and I'm like, dude, when I was younger, I was just like missing for a lot
All
of the
the
day.
time.
Like, I was just out in the world. Like, you know, I used to ride horses. I used to trail ride, which is like not the, you know, not the prestigious blue ribbon, but like the backcountry sort of thing. And I'm like, man, just for hours, I was doing like a very dangerous sport miles away from civilization. With no way to contact anyone.
Or maybe you had like a chocolate or a flip phone or whatever.
I didn't even at that point, because I didn't get a phone until I was like a junior in high school, maybe, or something. Again, my parents were a little bit slower on the tech than most people, so it was like, you know, but that, I mean, talk about like being really resourceful. Like, you would just get lost.
Yeah.
You don't have GPS, you just gotta figure it out. Like, there's no map. It's getting dark. You gotta get out of here, you know? So I don't know. There's something desirable, I think, about that time period. That's when I kind of think like we were at a sweet spot. Like, we had tech, but tech wasn't overwhelming our lives.
Right.
And it wasn't constantly the thing on the front of your mind. Like, I notice myself now, if I'm just doing regular activities, without even noticing it, I'm on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember opening the app.
Yeah.
And I'm on there. And I'm looking at videos of other people's lives that I don't even know.
All the time.
And I'm like, why? I don't give a fuck about this person or what they're doing. Why is it on my phone in front of me?
Habit, because you open it, it's like, I'll open my phone to try to go to the calculator or do something useful, and then just immediately open social media without even thinking about it. It just happens, and it's like, oh, I'm a crackhead with social media.
This is addiction. Yeah. And so, and that's another thing about being a comic nowadays. I was talking to McKenna, who's another Austin comic, who just got rid of her social media. And I'm like, you literally can't have a career.
No, you can't.
You have to choose now between your own sanity, your own, you know, safe space of not wasting half of your life looking into that little black screen, or having the career that you want, you know? That's why I always say, if you get big enough, hire someone to run your social media.
Oh, it'll be like the first thing that I hire out. Yeah, I would love to not deal with it.
Imagine, do you know how many free hours a day we would have? If the app wasn't on your phone.
Yeah.
It wasn't even an option to look at it.
Ugh, I wish.
I know. It's great, right? It's great to think about. People are like, I'm gonna get rich and I'm gonna buy a sports car. I'm like, I'm gonna get rich and I'm gonna hire someone to run my social media so that I can have my peace of fucking mind back.
For sure.
Am I allowed to cuss?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's what I think. That's where my head's at. I'm like, I want to live on a farm and not look at social media.
I know, me too. I also think, like, to what we were talking about earlier with people being so excited to get some kind of diagnosis, or to be like, I'm ADHD, I'm disabled, I'm this, I'm that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people use it to dodge accountability for their otherwise terrible personalities. I think as soon as you put a medical label on it, now all of a sudden no one is allowed to point out your complete disregard for other humans.
Yes.
You know what pissed me off so badly? When I started hearing about people saying they had time blindness and that's why they were late all the time, I'm like, go outside, bro.
Yeah.
No. Time blindness? No.
Yeah.
No.
That's so funny to someone like me, because everything that's wrong with me, I am acutely aware of how late I am. In fact, I'm panicking about how late I am. I am still late, but I'm very scared about it. It gives me anxiety. But yeah, time blindness. You mean you're lazy? Is the word you're looking for lazy and you don't care about other people's time? Is maybe the word you're looking for.
But it's, people say it's a symptom of ADHD, and like, I understand that just the episode I released last week was with a woman who was an ADHD coach.
Oh,
and
nice.
She is severely ADHD, so she's like kind of the perfect person to talk about it. And she just kept coming back to being like, yeah, it's absolutely a disability. Our brains work different, but we are adults and we are accountable for our brains.
It's your responsibility.
It's your responsibility. If you can't remember that you put your clothes in the washer, you need to set an alarm. You have tools to set an alarm on your phone to go off that the washer is done, so that your clothes don't get moldy and sitting there for days on end. Like, you're the adult, it's your responsibility.
And I let the clothes get moldy. So smart. Galina, oh my God, it's never occurred to me to set a timer. And I'm always having Kurt yell at me because he's like, why do these clothes smell like that? That's like a big problem in my life, and I'll set a timer. Never thought about doing that.
Yeah, she was like, do that, she recommended whiteboards for people who buy things in their fridge and then forget about them, that like, if you buy pickles, write that you have pickles on your whiteboard. When you finish the pickles, wipe that they're not there anymore, so that you don't A, buy them again when you're out grocery shopping and end up with 4 things of pickles, B, that you don't like let things spoil because you're like throwing money away, didn't even realize, because object permanence is like a big thing for ADHD people. They just
I let stuff,
remember,
especially the produce, push it in the back and let it get moldy.
Yeah,
it's kind of my move.
And she was like, you just need tools. If you know it's an issue, just like find tools to implement. And I was like, okay.
I have noticed that because of the way that my brain is wired, if I have some form of a schedule, it's easier for me not to do all these terrible things. But I also get, like anxiety around all the things that I need to do if I make too much of a schedule.
Of course.
And then I'll do nothing. So it's a weird, like, in between. It's weird, like, if I give myself too much of a schedule, I get overwhelmed by that and then nothing gets done. So, but no, the timer is pretty smart. I might do that. I do have a whiteboard. I could write the groceries down on that. I'm now thinking about all the ways that I'm not accountable to myself. And I am always late to everything, but I do know that I'm late. I'm not blind to it.
It's the telling people, I think I had heard an example of someone telling that at a job interview, which is like, number one way to not get hired is to be like, I have time blindness, so don't expect me to be on time for work. Don't expect me to hire you. Yeah.
That's awful.
That's wild.
I will say, because I worked in restaurants for a long time, and I do feel that my ADHD was actually an upper hand in restaurants because things are moving so quickly. And a big thing for me, at least, is I forget things very easily. I'm extremely forgetful. But because you're moving around, you keep having to pass by, and then that triggers you to remember the thing you forgot to do. Like, oh, I forgot to put in their appetizer. Oh, I forgot to bring that person extra ketchup. So then you can go around and remind yourself the stuff you would usually just forget if you weren't doing that,
Yeah.
So I do think it worked for me in that category, but that's the only job where I ever felt like it was kind of a plus. Every other job, it's been a negative. It's been a huge disadvantage in every other field I've been in. But yeah, that one, it kind of worked out well. But yeah, it also does not work out well in comedy. I forget my own jokes, which
I
is
have
like
trouble remembering my jokes
do
sometimes.
you?
But I think it's getting better now that I'm getting more stage time out here.
Yeah.
I think a lot of my issue with forgetting a lot of my jokes was because I just wasn't getting that much stage time in LA. And if I don't have that repetition piece, out the window.
Yeah. Because sometimes it'll be like, I know why this joke's funny, but like, it'll be funnier if I hit it right in the timing, and then I forgot to say this little part of it that really would have made it, and it's like that sort of thing. Because like, obviously I live with my boyfriend who has an incredible memory, and he's the exact opposite. He'll hit his jokes perfectly, and he's like, how do you not remember your own material that you wrote? I'm like, I don't know, my brain's broken. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, I know I wrote it and have performed it, dozens of times at this point, maybe 100, but I still forgot how. It happens, whatever.
Well, he's lucky.
Yeah.
He's lucky he has a good memory.
Not everyone has that,
That's why I have to steer away from things like politics or getting too in the weeds with scientific stuff, because I'll be like, I think I remember that someone told me that isn't exactly that, but I can't remember the details to back up my argument, so and my argument is a feeling that I have.
Yeah.
Because I know I heard something that made me feel a certain way, and I remember my feeling, but I don't remember the evidence to back up my feeling.
That's fair. Yeah, the scientific ones, I mean, that's like, I feel like that's impossible for me to do, because I'm like, I never want to seem smart on stage, because I feel like I can't relate to people, The politics also, I try to avoid that as well, but that's just because, like, I want to be goofy, and have fun, and I'm like, I know there are great comics who weave comedy into politics. I just don't feel like I have that skill set. Like, I'm here to be a clown, I'm gonna lean towards that. I do have strong opinions about things, but I just probably won't say them on stage.
I also just don't like that it's not evergreen.
Yes, yeah. I actually have one right now, a joke that I love, but it has to do with the news. It's very goofy, but it has to do with the news. And because of this Iran thing, I have to change the way I get into it completely. And I'm like, it's annoying because I'm sure I have some videos of it, but not like, really good quality videos, but it's like, I never posted a clip of it back when it didn't need to be changed. Now I have to alter the whole thing to make it still work. It'll work, whatever, but yeah, that does kind of get annoying if you try to do anything. Like, it just is not evergreen at all. It doesn't have to do with you personally. It's a totally external thing. And it also happens to people who do material on like pop culture stuff. It's like, if you're still talking about like Britney Spears, back in the day, like, it's like, damn, that's an old joke.
Yeah. I had a few of those where I was like, oh, I think I can't talk about this anymore.
Yeah, people don't even, and also people have amnesia. They don't even remember things that happened a while back, So, like, that comes and goes very quickly. They're like, who? What? I don't, yeah,
like, do you have amnesia, or are you trying to get extra time on your test at school?
Is this another disability? I know it's happening.
You and your time blindness and your amnesia. I'm so sick of this shit. Well, should we wrap this thing up?
Let's do it. Thank you for having me.
Amazing. Well, Jenna Sparrow, where can people find you and what you're up to?
Yes, so Instagram, it's 2_, Jenna Sparrow 2_, which is annoying to type in, but it is what it is. And then on YouTube, I think it's just, Jenna Sparrow on YouTube. That's where you find the Bad Art Show. I have new episodes that are in post-production right now, so they're coming out soon. I also started a little series called Houses and Horses, where I pair my favorite houses and horses. It's very stupid.
I love the concept.
It's kind of like playing house. I just pick out horses I think are pretty and houses I think are pretty. So that's all I'm up to at the moment. So come find me.
Amazing. Thank you so much for doing the show today.
Thanks. Thank you for having me. Bye.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Bye.
You're back.
He's back from his matcha days.
I hope that was good.
That was great. Yeah, absolutely. I've been in the back of my mind thinking, when can I spray that stain with?
Oh no.
Stain.
I really don't see it. Oh, I do
think
see it a little.
Yeah. How do we do on time? I feel like it was probably around an hour. I start to get like a feeling for how long it's been. Yeah, I feel like my internal clock can tell when it's been like an hour. Oh, hi everybody. Thank you for tuning in.
Oh, I didn't even know.
Oh yeah, this is your life. Okay, that was the episode. If you want to see the full one. Sorry, I didn't see the comments. You didn't hear. I'm so sorry. Anyways, the full episode will be out next week. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sorry about the audio. Everyone's saying you couldn't hear. I will fix that on the next one. I deeply, deeply apologize. Okay, guys, we will log off of here now. See you later. Thank you. Bye.